when he's right. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. So I got a question. Excuse me if I gotta knock the rust off. It's been a minute. But I got a question for everybody. The ultimate goal in this walk is to do what? The ultimate goal. The goal being the end. The end result is what? In the kingdom. Boom. So who in here wants to make it into the kingdom? Alright. Raise your hand high if you're sure. The question is, why you didn't raise your hand that high the first time? Why you didn't give your very best the first time if that's your ultimate goal, right? So I'm gonna run through some scriptures because I want to point to something that we've been dealing with as a assembly, something that they fought hard on a while back, in a couple of different angles, so I want to touch on it and how important it is, because I think it really gets lost a little bit, but how important it is in order to reach that end result, right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
So, question. What was the first sin?
Go ahead, Doc.
Yep. So let's go there. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 4.
Let's start here.
Three and 4.
This is Genesis chapter 3 at verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die. For Elohim do know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the apple. She took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened.
Okay. So that was the first transgression, right? What was the second?
Go ahead.
And he was. Let's go to Genesis 4 first.
Genesis chapter 4 and 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him.
Okay. So I got another question. Which transgression was worse? The first one was worse? Because it was what? No, say that what you said again. Because it went against y'all, right? What did you say, son? Both of them, yeah. Both of them led to death. Go ahead.
I would say the second one would be worse because he didn't learn from the mistakes of the first one.
Because he didn't learn from the mistakes of the first. So, go ahead. Go ahead. So you think they were equally as bad, right?
Go ahead.
I said the first one because the first
Uh-huh. Didn't the second one kind of affect everybody after? Kind of. Okay. I can see that.
First I said sin is sin, but when I thought about it, I know you got some sins that lead to death and some that don't lead to death.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Cain was the worst.
But did somebody else have something over here? Before I... Go ahead. Last one, and then I'm moving forward. Go ahead.
I think the first one was worse.
The first one was worse. He said, but the author said some sins lead to death and some don't. But the immediate consequence for Eve and Adam was death. However, Cain committed a sin that supposedly led to death and didn't die for it. So, I'll ask you this. How are they different? How are they different? Like, we know there was completely different transgressions. Go ahead. Okay. That's true. Let's get Genesis chapter 3 verse 13. Genesis 3:13. Have done. And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me. So Eve was fooled by the serpent, right? Let's go to Genesis 4 and verse 3. Genesis 4 and 3. And the process of time came by the fruit of the ground and the offering unto the Lord. And he also brought the foxes of his flock and the flock thereof. And he had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But as he came and to his offering, he had no respect. And Cain was not wrath, and his countenance fell. And what y'all say?
And Yahuwah said unto Cain, why are you wroth? Why is your countenance fallen? And if you do well, shall you not be accepted? If you do not well, sin lies at the door. Unto you shall be his desire.
That's good. So both were food or beguiled, right? The serpent beguiled Eve, but who beguiled Cain? Himself. So much so that he did what? Killed his brother, right? Let's go 2 Peter chapter 1. Because the thing I want to attempt to show is how a few things in, right? Is how Cain's relationship with his brother, and it's all our relationships with our brother, how important they are to reach that final goal. And what we've been talking about lately, especially we talked about it last week as kind of a topic amongst everybody who was here, was that brotherly love. But it's been a continuous conversation. It's been a continuous conversation throughout that brotherly love, right? And dealing with the different seven congregations that's in Revelation, right? But also, if we look at it from the standpoint of declaring the end from the beginning. So all throughout Genesis, which is the beginning, right? We got Cain and Abel, we got Abraham and Lot, we got Jacob and Esau, and then we got Joseph and his brothers. A brotherly relationship is like the topic, if you have to pick one, of Genesis. All throughout. And in my opinion, it's really only one that I would say met the task out of all four. But we're going to see. 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 3.
2 Peter chapter 1, beginning at verse 3. According as his divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness.
All things that pertain to what?
To life and godliness. Through the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue, whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises.
Exceeding what?
Great and precious promises. That by these you might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust.
Now, what's that divine nature? When it says partakers of the divine nature, right? And it mentions corruption. Whose divine nature is it speaking about? The Shiach, right? Yep. So let's hold that. We're gonna stay in 2 Peter for a little while, but let's go Hebrews 9 and 15. Hold your finger at 2 Peter because we're gonna come back there. Hebrews 9 and 15.
Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 15. And for this cause he is the mediator of the new covenant, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first covenant, they which were called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance.
So that promise that is talking about, those great and precious promises that is talking about in 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 4, is the promise of what?
Eternal inheritance.
That eternal inheritance is what? The kingdom, right? So let's grab Romans chapter 10 verse 17.
Romans chapter 10 and verse 17. So then faith come by hearing, and the hearing by the word of Elohim.
So what does that mean? Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word. What?
So first, you have
Say
to,
that again. So what?
so
First, go ahead.
you have to hear the word,
Uh-huh.
and then you have to believe it,
Uh-huh.
and then you have to take it.
What does that mean? Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Elohim. You was cooking.
Faith come by the word, brother.
It's okay. Mhm. Okay. So the very first thing is the hearing, and the hearing establishes faith. Hearing, understanding. So is that enough? Is that enough? Is that it? Faith, hear the word, you believe it, you understand it, faith, boom, that's it. Not it? You gotta say it again, 61? You gotta work? All right, let's go James chapter 1 and verse 22.
The book of James, chapter 1, verse 22. But be ye doers,
Action, right? Go ahead. So when you hear that word and you believe it, you have to then become a what? Doer. A doer. Go ahead.
and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
So if you're hearers only, so faith isn't only by hearing, but that's how it starts, right? That's why I wanted you to repeat that first. You hear the word, you believe it, you understand it, and that's the very beginning of faith, right? And then what? Go ahead.
But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in the glass.
What does that mean, beholding his natural face in the glass? Look in the mirror, right? Me and my son talk about this all the time. When that Michael Jackson song come on the radio, he said he talking to the man in the mirror, right? Your biggest foe that you're going to face in life is that person right across from you staring in that reflection, right? So it said, if anybody be a hero of the word, and then not a doer, it says, like unto a man looking at himself in the mirror, right? Go ahead.
For he that look himself,
So look at yourself, go ahead.
and go his way.
And then you leave. You finish brushing your teeth, you wash your face, you look sure, you got no crust in your eyes, you greased up, you ready. And you go your way, bro.
And straightway forgets what manner of man he was. But whatsoever unto the place of your liberty.
And so when you walk, so being a hero of the word and not a doer is like looking at yourself in the mirror and then forgetting who you are, what you look like, your own features, right? Go ahead.
But whatsoever unto the place of your liberty. and continue therein, he being not a forgetful hearer.
So, when you look at the law, what should you see? Your reflection. Right? Right?
By the doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deeds.
This man should be what?
Blessed in his deeds.
In his actions, right? Go ahead.
If any man seems to be religious and body his tongue, but deceive his own heart, this man's religion is vain.
So you should see your own reflection in that law. Your actions, your deeds should reflect what's written. Should they not? Go ahead.
True religion, and undefiled before Elohim, and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless. To visit the who? To visit the fatherless.
To praise the Most High?
To visit the fatherless. And widows and affliction. And keep himself unspotted from the world.
So, immediately when he talks about a pure faith or a pure religion, as he states, the first thing he stated is not about the Most High, but it's actually charity to other people. Let's get it. Romans 10 and 16. I don't want to get misconstrued. It's definitely about the Most High. We understand that the commandments is split, right, in this fashion, that majority of the commandments pertain to Yah, and the others pertain to who? Your brother. Yah and your brother, right? All 10 commandments can be wrapped up into what? With all your heart. Plain and simple. On those two things, all the love. Then why do we forget to love the brother part? Why we don't give the brother part the same reverence that we give the Most High part? Now, we know the Most High see all, know all this stuff, right? Can we talk about y'all behind his back? I mean, technically, he ain't present. Like, but he is. But can you talk about him behind his back? Then why you talk about your brother behind his back? Is it not of equal importance? If on those two commandments hang all the law, is it not of equal importance? Romans 10 and 16.
Romans 10 and 16. But they have not obeyed the gospel. But therefore, Master, how have believed my report? So then faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of Elohim. But faith have they not heard?
So, if faith come by hearing and hearing, so we hear the word, right? Weekly, at least weekly, we hear the word. At least weekly. For those of us that are diligent in our studies, or that are tuned in a little bit more, it's more than that. But regardless to say, we hear this word, right? And so our faith is there. Read verse 17 again. I'm sorry, verse 18 again.
But I say, have you not heard?
Haven't they heard? But I say, haven't they heard the word?
Yes, truly. That sound runs all the earth. That runs unto the whole world.
But what?
But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will go through jealousy by doing to another people, and by a false nation I will anger you. But I was very bold, and said, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that was not after me. But to Israel he said, I also know.
What does it mean, gainsaying? What does that mean, gainsaying? It says Isaiah said very boldly, all day long have I stretched my hand unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. What does it mean, gainsaying people? They speak against. They're speaking against you. This is the prophet of the Most High. And he's telling the people what Yah is telling them to tell the people. And they're speaking against them. So who are they really speaking against? Plain and simple. He said it. They didn't reject you, they rejected me. Because my word is coming from you. I mean, it's coming through you, right? Let's go back to 2 Peter chapter 1. Verse 5.
2 Peter 1 and 5. And besides this, giving all diligence.
Besides this, I'm talking about besides hearing the word, right? Besides what you hear the word, that's the beginning of the faith, right? Faith comes by hearing. Oh, wow. That. All right, I heard it. Now that's the start of the faith, right? But it starts after verse 5. It says, but what?
And
Besides this, what?
giving all diligence.
What? Diligent. What does it mean to be diligent? Consistent, right? When you're diligent, you're consistent. Consistency is the key, right? Go ahead.
Add to your faith virtue.
Wait, you what?
Add to your faith virtue.
And once you hear that word and you get that faith, you're supposed to add to that faith what?
Virtue.
What is virtue? Morals, goodness, integrity, dignity, all of these things. So add to that faith. This is where the door will come in, right? Go ahead.
And to virtue, knowledge.
So once you add into the faith, right? That virtue, that goodness. I'm just going to be a good person, right? Then it's knowledge, understanding what a good person really is and what a good person really does, right? Go ahead.
And to knowledge, temperance.
What is temperance?
Control.
Self-control. Good. Go ahead.
And to temperance, patience.
And the temperance, patience. So once you add that faith, then virtue, then the knowledge, this temperance, self-control, the patience. Go ahead.
And to patience, godliness.
What is godliness?
Respect towards the Most High.
There you go. In this particular context, it's reverence or fear to the Most High, right? Respecting Yah, His word, and His people, right? Go ahead.
And to godliness, brotherly kindness.
What is it?
Brotherly kindness.
So once you get the respect and the reverence to Yah, you're supposed to add brotherly kindness. And then what?
And to brotherly kindness, love.
And now once you get the brothers, just being kind enough. Now you got to love them. But notice the steps. Notice the hierarchy. It starts with faith, then virtue, then patience and temperance and all these things. But at the very end is brotherly love. At the very end. By the time we mature in this law, this is supposed to be what our doing is. Our actions are supposed to be based around this. Once you add and you add and you add and you add and you add, and then once you get to the end, it said, and to all this, brotherly love.
So is that to say, if you don't actually have the brotherly love, then your knowledge, your temperance, your virtue, all that stuff is vain?
It ain't vain, but you're somewhere in between there. You haven't added to it yet. If you ain't walking the way to say, you haven't added to that yet. If you can't be kind to your brother, you ain't added to that. Let's go back a step. Let's go back a step. And let's deal with it. You add to that faith little by little to the point where when you get to the end, when you're fully mature, when you're fully furnished and well established in the law, now that's when the brotherly love come in, right? Go ahead. For sure. For sure. I mean, that's it, right? He said, if any man is a new, right? Everything is supposed to change. All things are new. Right? Keep going. So if these things are in you, then what? What does that mean, abound? The overflow, right? If this thing is in you. Go ahead.
they made you that you should neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Master, Yeshua HaMashiach. But he that learned those things is blind.
Is what?
Is blind.
Go ahead.
And cannot see afar off.
Ain't that man who forget his face in the glass? You blind, right? Go ahead.
And have forgotten that he was purged from his own sins.
You forgot. That's it. You behold your natural face in the glass, and when you go your way, you forget what manner of man that you are. You forgot that these things that you walking and you doing, the stuff that you used to do, then guess what? You're doing it again. You forgot that you was purged from that. You forgot that stuff is passed away, that you're a new person, a new creature. You're supposed to be walking different in the newness of life, right? It's got to be different. It can't be the same as it was before. It must be different. And if you're saying that it's not different, if you're doing the same, then you're blind. It's saying it. I mean, I didn't say it. They say it right here. So go ahead. Diligence. It started off by saying in verse 5, it says, besides me giving all diligence, add this, and this to your faith. So now it came right back around full circle. It says, give diligence. Wherefore, rather, brethren, give diligence to what? To make your calling. To make your calling and election sure. So once you diligent in all of these things that it's talking about, what is it? What is an assurity now? You see that? Notice it did not mention the Most High. It's talking about specifically your relationship with the person that's next to you. Specifically, your calling and election is made sure by how you treat the next person.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Go ahead. Huh? So what? That entrance shall be ministered unto you. What is that entrance? Where do you think you're entering? Go ahead. Abundantly. Into the everlasting kingdom. To what? Into the everlasting kingdom. That's good. Look at 1 John chapter 3 and verse 14. So it's telling you that once you add all these things, it says an entrance. You assured an entrance into the kingdom. 1 John 3 and 14. And verse 14. We know that we have passed from death unto life. We know that we have passed from death unto life when what? Because we love the brethren. Because what? Because we love the brethren. Right? He that loves his brother abide in death. Abide what? Abide in death. Right? Whosoever hates his brother, huh? Is a liar. As I know that no man will have eternal life abiding in him. Hereby perceive we the love of Elohim. It says, hereby we perceive the love of Elohim based on the love to our brother. Go ahead. Because our love is for us. You know what? For us, huh? And we ought to lay down our lives for the brother. We ought to do what? Lay down our lives for the brother. John 15:13. We ought to lay down. If that's love right there, that's the love that it's talking about. Be willing to give your life for the next person. This is it's not a small thing. It's not a light thing. But that's what it's talking about. You have to be willing to give yourself for another person. It's John 15:13. John 15:13. Great love. So what? For his friend, right? You are my friends. If you do what I command you, yourself. I call you my servants, for the servant will know what his master do. For friends, for all things, I will hear my servant, but will not know unto you. 1 John 4:19. 1 John chapter 4, verse 19. We love him. Why? Because he loved us
It's a man
He's a what? He's a what? He's a liar. Go ahead. It's what? So just understanding how heavy that is. Understanding how heavy that is. We can come in here and pray and praise and all this. But if we not loving our brother, like for real, loving our brother. If you can talk about a brother behind his back or sister, don't get it mistaken. We're talking about brothers and sisters. If you can talk about a person behind their back, guess what? You hate them.
Say it again.
You hate them. Plain and simple. It's no gray area with the Most High, right? We know that congregation that was in the gray area that was lukewarm. What happened to them? Right? So we're not talking about lukewarm. You either got to be hot or cold. You either can be hot or cold. If you can talk about a person and you can't talk to that person about the exact same thing, you hate them. You can't love them because it's either love or hate, right? Well, I take that back. It's another category, but mainly it's love or hate. But if you can talk about a person behind their back and you are not able to say these same things to that person's face, the proof is in the pudding. We don't have to deliberate about what this really is, because how do you think that person is going to feel once they found out what you said? And you have to approach that situation based on how would you feel? How would you feel to find out that somebody been talking about you behind your back and saying things that, man, all we have to do is just have a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about talking about brotherly love, when we understand which congregation through Revelations was known for the brotherly love, right? Which what? Philadelphia, right? And that was the only one of the congregations that Mashiach didn't have something against, right? So then I guess the question has to become, so if somebody was to ask you, based on this lesson in particular, well, then how do I make it through into the kingdom? And we expressing that your entrance into the kingdom is directly tied to brotherly love. So then you have to understand what brotherly love actually is, right? Okay, let's get it. Romans 12:9.
So the last of your life, that person got to be a friend, though, right? Not just no random, my man about to die, I'm going to die for him. It don't work like that, right?
What do you mean?
Just a random stranger. Or you talking about just a random associate?
So who you supposed to model your life after? Who? Mashiach. You met him? You met him? Did you meet him? You meet him? Did you meet him? You didn't meet him? I never met him. He died for me though. You too.
You just die for that person.
I'm saying, is your goal to live on this earth?
No.
Your ultimate goal is to what?
The kingdom.
It's no greater love than that.
For instance, there was a little girl or something about to get hit by a car. You don't know her. What do you hope you would do in that sort of a situation?
And in saving her, you risk your life.
I think the guy get robbed the other day. Doing my Uber. You seen the guy with the gun. Was I supposed to intervene?
Well, it's not necessarily a supposed to thing. Maybe you ain't there yet. But it's to say, are there people who would? Yeah, there are. There are people who would intervene. And you're talking about people who not even in this walk. That's what Isaiah is kind of talking about. Like, it's people who I didn't even talk to that sought this out because they just have that automatically in their heart. So it's not a supposed to type thing. You might just not be there yet. But
I have to get me to protect. You know, I need to get on me. You know, that ain't your, you know, I would make a U-turn, but it's like, when I say that,
so understand what it's saying. It says, greater love have no man than this. This is the greatest type of love that you would lay your life down for a friend. The greatest. So, you know, if I would say it's some always self-examination that's involved in all of this stuff. I can't say I'm there. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying what the book say. Romans 12 and 9. What is the simulation? Without fakeness, the definition, I believe, is hypocrisy. So hypocrisy is fake, right? Hypocrisy. Let love be without hypocrisy. It's not fake, right? We know that love is patient, love is kind, like we know it. But let love be without hypocrisy, right? Sincere. Sincere. Unfeigned, undisguised, or sincere.
Which is evil, cleave to that which is good, be kindly affection one to another. Be what? Be kindly affection one to another. With brotherly love. What? With brotherly love. In honor, preferring one another.
Hold that. Grab Genesis 13. What does that mean, preferring one another? Say it again. Say it loud. Say it so the people in the back can hear you. Putting somebody else's before your own, right? Preferring one another. Abhorring evil. Preferring one another. No, without hypocrisy, right? Genesis 13 and verse 8.
Genesis 13 and 8. And Abram said unto Lot, there be no strife. Let be no strife. I pray you, between me and you, between my husband and your husband.
We be what? Because he considered himself to be brother. Technically, Lot was his nephew, but he like, we brothers. Let there be no strife between us. Go ahead. Look at all of this land before us, right? Go ahead. So let's separate from one another. We can be separate, right? Let's be separate. We can be separate and still be brothers. Go ahead. So we got all this land before us. We brothers. Let's separate so that we don't have no strife between us. I'm going to give you first choice, and I'll take what you don't want. That is preferring the other person over yourself, right? Give that other person preference. So if it's the last wing in the box, it's like, don't try to finish the one you eating on so you get that last one. You know, and it's like, give preference to another person, right? Let's go back to Romans 12, verse 11.
Not in business. Fervent in love. Serving the master.
Go ahead.
Patient in tribulation.
Patient in what?
Patient in tribulation.
So when it's trouble, when it's tribulation, you have to be patient. This is part of love. Go ahead. Continuing how in prayer? So should you wait until after you try to fix something before you instant in prayer, right? Continuing instant in prayer. The moment that there's tribulation, the first thing you should be doing is prayer. Go. All right, good. Go. What does that mean? Distributing to the necessity of saints. Giving people what they need. Giving of yourself what people need, right? So, it's a wonderful thing that we learning about this in the season of Purim, that we got to give people what they need, right? Go ahead. To what? What is hospitality? Not just somebody into your home, not even a friend, anybody. Being hospitable or friendly to a stranger. Go ahead. Wait a minute. It said friend. Do what now? No, say what? So wait a minute. Maybe I ain't read that right. Read. It say bless them. Go ahead. So why do you think you repeated it, right? That bless them that persecute you. And people's like, wait, what? Bless. And not curse. It have to be restated because that is something that's so foreign to us as people, is to bless somebody that's not a blessing to us, or that's not nice to us, or that's not pleasing to us, or that do something that we don't like. It don't matter if the person on your job, it don't matter. Man, it used to burn me up, right? When somebody hit me with that, supposed to be. I remember being in the church and I mess around and lose my temper about something, and I get hit with that. You supposed to be a Christian, like I am a Christian. No, that's a. But when you get hit with that, why do you think they hit you with that supposed to be? Because even if they're speaking negatively on you, you still supposed to have a soft heart and be able to forgive them, right? That's what that's supposed to be is. And in all honesty, it's true. You're supposed to have that heart that's soft enough to forgive somebody that do something that to you, right? You have to have that heart soft enough to forgive. This is brotherly kindness, brotherly love, hospitality, and the sort. And let's grab Matthew chapter 5.
It sounds like unwanted accountability. They're holding you accountable for something you don't want to be held accountable for.
And they don't have to. They shouldn't have to if you're holding yourself accountable. Like Cain should have did. He didn't give his best effort. If he held himself accountable, he would have never killed his brother. But he blamed his brother for his own insecurity.
So Matthew what?
5:43.
Matthew 5:43. You are you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Go ahead. But I say unto you, love your enemy, bless them which curse you. Do good to them that hate you. What? Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully you and persecute you. Yeah, I saw it was like a video or whatever, and it was like a woman who she was in court and her son had gotten murdered, and she was in court for the guy who like murdered her son, and she like wanted to hug him and forgive him, and people was like going crazy, like how could you? But this is the type of heart that you have to have. This is the type of heart that Mashiach prefers, right? Remember when he was up on the stake being killed himself, what did he request to the Most High? Forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing. Forgive them. Go ahead. That you may be what? This is the type of heart that's required that you may be the children of your Father. Go ahead. Which was for him make the sons of evil and on the garden, and some on the just and on the unjust. What makes you different? If you just love the people that love you, right? What makes you any different? It doesn't. Go ahead. Uh-huh. It's perfect.
That's good. Let's go back to Romans 12. So if you just love the people that love you, what's the difference? Everybody love their family. You got the man that'll go out and rob, steal, kill, and all this stuff, and he'll do it in the name of his family. I do this for the people that I love. But do we really love? Is love really in his heart? If you can take something from somebody else, does that mean you love? No. Say it's a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof is death. Romans 12, verse 15.
Mind running towards another. Things. But condescending to men of low estate. You're not wise in your own conceit.
You're not wise where?
In your own conceit, But that is honest in the sight of all men.
Go ahead.
It's impossible. As much as you
live peaceably with all men, right? Go ahead. If somebody do something to me, I'm not supposed to go and do something back to them?
No.
Why not?
What has been said, eye for an eye. It's not yourselves, but the place unto wrath.
Feed them. If your enemy hungry, feed him. If your enemy thirst, man, I'm not about to get that white joker begging. He done messed up all that white privilege. You think this joker that messed up his white privilege, you think I'm about to give him something because he underworld? Yes, give him something too. Give him something too. That's to me, that wasn't to y'all, because I'll be seeing the white guy and I'll be like, no, I ain't gonna get him. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna be real with you. I've done it. I seen the white guy and I wouldn't give to him because just based on he was white. Even though he was dirty, I just didn't. Forgive me.
Hey, you know, like, people watching right now who agree with you.
I'm just saying, you're supposed to give to him too. You're supposed to give to him too.
Don't install him.
To everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm guilty of that. I can't lie. It always pop in my head like, man, he been white his whole life and he's still in.
What's stupid, though? He ain't just turned white.
Let's get Psalms 133.
You just turned white. How long you been
How long you been white?
We can hit with that label, sir.
What? How good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Brothers dwelling together in unity is compared to where y'all gave the commandments and opened up eternal life. That's the comparison. That's the analogy was made. Let's go. I think we drove that. Hold on. Let's go 1 John 2 and verse 9. 1 John 2 and 9.
Chapter 3, verse 9. Darkness,
Even unto when? You can say you in the light, or you in this truth, or you love Mashiach, but you ain't showing that love to your brother. He's in the darkness. Go ahead.
abides in the light. And there's no stumbling in.
And there's no what?
Occasion of stumbling in.
Remember what he said in Romans? It said that if you add all these things to your faith that ended in brotherly kindness, it said that you never be away from this, you never gonna fall. Go ahead.
But he that hurt his brother is in darkness. And walk in darkness. And know not whither they go. Because the darkness has blinded his eye. What? Blinded his eyes.
1 Thessalonians 4. Verse 7.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and 7.
I want y'all to see something real quick. Go ahead.
For our hearing has not called us unto uncleanness,
But unto what?
but unto holiness.
So he didn't call us to be unclean, he called us to be set apart, right? Go ahead. So what does it mean to despise? To hate. So if you hate somebody, you don't hate the man who you hate. Read. But what? I shouldn't even be writing it. We shouldn't even be having this conversation right now. I shouldn't even have to write this right now. Notice what he said in the letter. If you hate, you don't hate this man. You hate Elohim. As it pertains to brotherly love, we shouldn't even be talking about this. Because we should already have been in this walk for so long, be past it. Go ahead.
Not what I write to you.
Do what? It's right in the main law that we read, the 10 commandments that we recite every single week, at least every single week. The foundation of when we first learn this faith, right? And faith came how? By hearing, right? And once we heard, we're supposed to add unto that faith, and add unto that faith, and add unto that faith. So we shouldn't even, the topic of brotherly love should be put to rest at this point. Understanding that your entrance into the kingdom is hinged right on it. The ones you cool with, the ones that think like you think, the ones that go the same place you like to go. The ones that like basketball because you like it. Everybody. Go ahead. That's right. That you will increase more and more. That love will continue to grow more and more, right? Luke chapter 10, verse 1. Luke 10 and 1. Luke 10 and 1.
Luke chapter 10, verse 1.
Talking about he appointed 70 people to be over the congregations, right? Over the body. Go ahead. I see your fathers, a lamb among widows, right? Go down to verse 16. He don't hear you, hear me. The word that you giving to these people when you delivering the gospel, it ain't you that they hearing me. But he that hates you does what? Despise me. But when you're trying to give somebody this word, correction, because that's definitely the one that it's hard to take that correction, right? When you're delivering this word and the correction that's written here and you hate it, you don't want to hear it, guess what? Guess who it is that you don't want to hear? Say it again. It's not the person that's delivering the word. The person that's delivering the word is only a vessel for that word to come through. The word come from here. The word came from Yah. The correction is because the person is not correcting you because he don't like you or she don't like you. And we got to get out of that too. Not wanting to correct the person when you see it wrong. You can't withhold. You can't withhold correction when you see somebody doing something wrong. I know a lot of times it's like, I ain't want to say nothing, but no, you got to say something. You got to say something. You have to say something. Because if the person that's receiving the correction should look at it as a good thing. You're not saying this to me because you don't like me, because you hate me, because you despise me. You're saying this to me because you love me. And you want to see me walk correctly. I remember when we was in Cairo. This is when, like, we went to Cairo early on in this walk, right? It was early for me. And I hadn't even been in the truth a whole year. Like, and I remember when we was doing Shabbat. It was Friday night, right? And I'm like, yo, man, I'm hungry. And I ordered some food. I was like, bought some food. And at the time, it's like, yo, we wasn't supposed to be doing that. And I didn't know. And nobody said nothing to me except for one person. And when he said it like he was angry with me for doing it because I think he assumed that I knew. But I didn't. But had he not said it, I would have continuously been doing something that was really not correct. But when he told me, I was grateful, like, oh, man, I'm glad you told me that. I wasn't there like, man, dang, I'm hungry. Like, no, man, I'm glad you told me that because I'm just learning, right? That's when I add to the faith knowledge, right? That's the step I was in. I was still learning. We are still learning, but we learn greater and greater things, right? So we have to be fine with correcting a person. And we have to be fine with receiving correction. Right? It says, if a righteous man smite me upon my cheek, it's a what? It's a kindness. Mm-hmm. Correction is a kindness. Go ahead, all right? What do you mean self-criticism?
Something that I was doing and I it was really at the level, the state of mind I was there, like I couldn't listen when he was actually helping me.
Right.
I was on my ego.
Right. You was on what? No, say it again. It's okay. Right. Yeah, and what's another word for ego? Where did ego come from? Right? Yeah.
2 years to let him know, like, I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's a couple of different things that we can learn from that, right? From that experience. Because one of the things that when we first come into this truth is like, man, we feel like we got it down, we got it nailed, and we don't want to hear nothing nobody got to say. And I have to grow out of that. I personally have to grow out of that. Where somebody who didn't walk with me, who I didn't know personally, would offer correction, and I did not want to hear it just based on this person. Right? I didn't want to hear it, but I had to grow out of that to the point where I would listen to everybody. But at a certain point, I didn't want to listen to nothing nobody had to say. Whatever. Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya. Like, that's what it is. Whatever. The Most High name is Ahaya. It's right here. Yeah, we always talk about how when we first came into the truth, there was a sister who lived in Israel, spoke Hebrew as a child, was reading the Hebrew to us, and she like, nah. And we like, what? That ain't Hebrew. Don't even know Hebrew. We so, like, we ain't know nothing. We do shalom.
Salam.
We do the water. Like, what? But we were so proudful and high-minded that we went to tell this person who grew up speaking this language that she wasn't speaking it correctly. And she learned this as a child. Just think of what level of this, what's the word I'm looking for? Not pride, it's another arrogance. How arrogant is that? The audacity. Right? But first, like coming into this walk, you do that. But you have to grow out of it. You have to learn that to set your pride aside and be able to hear and receive correction. You have to. It's essential for this walk. It's essential. I remember when we first came into the walk and we had the brothers that came up in like the One West, right? And they'd be like, yo, who ordained y'all to teach? Like, what? What do you mean? The Most High ordained us to teach. You don't need no, this ain't New York. Well, but not really fully grasping what they're saying. Like, we were still too young in this walk to really, so throughout the years, we able to learn more and we grow more. And the one thing that I do love about brothers is that when we do something, when we say something that's incorrect, we don't have no problem going back and saying, yo, I was wrong about that. I know personally I've done it a few times. I mean, I only been wrong, but I've done it all them times. I've done it all them times I was wrong. I went back and corrected myself because I was wrong. So, but to get back on track, it says that he that despises or he that hates. I'm sorry, hold on. Read Luke 10 and 16 again. So when you hate a person that's bringing you the word of correction, guess what? You're really hating the Most High. You're really hating Mashiach. When he told Samuel, they didn't reject you, they rejected me. Because I'm giving you the word. I'm telling you what's best for my people. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. We almost through, y'all. According to what? So he said the bounds of the people according to what? The way that he separated the sons of Adam, he separated them based on Israel, right? Right? Do we agree to that? Yeah. Yep. Go ahead. Is this what? Huh? Jacob is what? So it's safe to say that we are the Most High's people. And the way that the world was set up, initially was set up for us. Yes or no? Agreed. Y'all agree? Good. Go ahead. And in the right following wilderness, he led him about. He instructed him. He did what? He instructed him. He kept him. He protected him and kept him. Y'all know what the apple of the eye is? It's your pupil. The literal apple of your eye is your pupil. It's really the darkness of the eye or the pupil. So we got 5 senses, right? Of the 5 senses, which one would y'all think which one is the most important to you? Mine is sight. I mean, we got what? Sight, hearing, touching, taste, smell. Like a lot of us lost our taste and our smell during COVID. And it wasn't phased that much. It was a little bit uncomfortable. You was mad because you couldn't, but it really wasn't that bad. You can still see. I think I would prefer
Don't you say it out loud.
to keep my sight over any of the other four. So the pupil of your eye is something that I can venture to say is probably the most dearest thing to you. Is your sight. So he that touch Israel is like touching the apple of his eye. Right? Things were set. Bottom line is the Most High don't play about his people. And if you hate his people, you hate him, plain and simple. Plain and simple, the entire law is hinged on how you feel about him and how you feel about your brother. Plain and simple. It's just that simple. But guess what? Those are the two greatest commandments. And on those hang all the law. If you are off, like I said, you ain't going to talk about the Most High behind his back. You're not going to say bad things about the Most High. But you would do it about your brothers. It doesn't make sense. Because it holds just as much weight. It's just as important. Psalms 105 and verse 6. Psalms 105 and verse 6. Generations. And concerning the stain of the Jacob for what type of covenant? Everlasting covenant, verse 14. Verse 14. Suffer no man to do what? Suffer no man to do wrong. Yeah. He provoked kings for their sake. What? Provoked kings to remove kings for their sake. So who? Yeah, let's say it again. Hey, all that. Both of us. Y'all think that changed? Nope, y'all don't think that changed? So then why you talking about y'all's people? Why you mistreating y'all's people? Why you not loving y'all's people? You say again? Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, what it boils down to, grab 1 John chapter 3, verse 11. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is we must, without any wiggle room, without any gray area, we must care and love for one another, especially the people that's in this room. Especially the people that's in this room. But honestly, everybody. Honestly, the people that talk about you bad, the people that said something about your mama, the people that you supposed to do it for them too. As much as you hate it, you're supposed to do it for them too. I don't know about the mama one. I don't know. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell y'all. That's what the book say. You don't like that part? Guess what? It ain't me. I don't see it. Mamas, man. 311. Yeah, this say love those that hate you, not your mama. Verse 9, 3:11. This is the message that you heard from the beginning. From the beginning. That's the message that you heard from the very beginning that we should what? Read it again. Not as what? Not like Cain loved his brother. He loved him so much that he killed him. Not his pain, but what? And then what? What did he say? He slew him because his own works were evil. It wasn't nothing that Abel did. He slayed his own brother because of his own internal struggle, his own insecurities, his own jealousy, his own envy. He beguiled himself to think that it was his brother's fault for being great. Go ahead.
My brother, it's the way I want you.
You know what I did? What? What? That's good. Last one, let's go Colossians chapter 3 and verse 12. So that's understanding what Cain did to Abel, right? His brother offered the first things, the best, right? And he didn't do what was right, and Cain blamed Abel for it. But we just read the scripture that say we're supposed to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. We're supposed to have a heart to have a like mind with other people. If my brother is rejoicing, we're supposed to rejoice together. Right? It said what a great thing it is for brothers to dwell together. How? In unity. And likened it to eternal life. Go ahead.
Colossians chapter 3, at verse, which one, 12? And beloved, brothers of mercies,
put on therefore as the elect. Who's the elect? So it said that if it wasn't for, what do it say? That basically that the very elect is going to be fooled, right? So the elect are those who are actually going to make it. So it says, put on, therefore, as the elect. If you consider yourself the elect, those people who raised their hand real high and said they were sure that they wanted to make it into the kingdom, right?
And beloved, brothers of mercies.
Brothers of what?
Mercies.
Mercy.
Kindness. Humbleness of mind. Meekness.
Long suffering. Humility. Kindness. These are all things we're supposed to display, not just to our brothers, but to everybody. Like, this is essential for your entrance into the kingdom. Essential. Go ahead. So, what does that mean for bearing one another? Bearing with it. Like, if somebody, like I say, how many times we supposed to forgive our brother? 7 times? Like, is that enough? You know this the 7th time now. No. Continuously. Forbearing. Completely bearing with what our brother. Go ahead.
Forbearing one another. Forgiving one another.
Doing what?
Forgiving one another.
So if you got an art with your brother, right, and you come to them, right, and y'all able to squash it, what did that mean? What did you just do? You gained a brother, right? Go ahead.
Forgiving one another. If anyone have a quarrel against any, as Mashiach forgave you, also do it.
So even as Mashiach forgave you, that's the same way we supposed to forgive. When you have quarrel, what is a quarrel?
Beef.
Argument, beef. You're supposed to be able to forgive. At the end of it, there's nothing wrong with having a disagreement. But at the end of it, there should be some form of conclusion, and we should be able to agree. I mean, whatever the topic may be. But we're supposed to be able to squash it and love, and it should be love at the end. Go ahead. And forgiveness, my bad. Forgiveness At the end, go ahead. What? What is the what? Love is the bond of perfectness. Love is because we can have disagreements, we can fall out, we can have all this and that, right? Don't mean that it's going to be forever, because that love is what do you mean the bond? Hold together. Love is the glue. That no matter how many times we argue, no matter how many times we beef, no matter how, because I love and care about you, that's going to bond us together. That's the glue. Go ahead.
The bond of perfectness.
What in your hearts? In what? In one body, go ahead. And be you thankful. Can y'all see that? How important? Like I said, I know we've talked about it several times over. Like we talk about it all the time, or quite a bit. But just understanding the importance and how essential it is to make it into that final goal into the kingdom, that brotherly love is just as important as your love for the Most High. Of equal importance, because you can't make it into the kingdom without either. Do y'all see that? Okay. And that, say shalom.
Hallelujah. What you got out?
Yeah, next week we get it again, and to be congratulations to return to building my son.
All praise.
What you got out?
So I sit back and I look at my family and I watch treasure till they chart. Desires that they faithful. So I feel like, you know, when you on the road, when you kind of know the most high, people go slide. You know, people go just bring up anything to make it seem like it's gonna be brave. Just down what we're talking about. And you don't take the most high to get it.
Hallelujah.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. Yeah, think about, we ask for forgiveness from the Most High, like every time we step out of bounds, right? That forgiveness is one of the most important things, and it's essential for this walk. But if we don't forgive, we can't expect him to forgive. So we got to have it. Right.
We'll repeat the question. Sorry about that.
Theo, what you got?
The other theology.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. I'm gonna say she must have heard it all the way over there.
Like the spirit, you know what I'm saying? It's a lesson.
Maybe I'll talk to you now. You know, when he was giving the class, I got this thing about, when I read the word talks about certain things like, go to your brother and talk to him and stuff like that. Some of the brothers you just can't do that. Because some of their attitude, I know what the book says. Now, I've tried this in the past, and most of the time it don't work because they get upset, they want to fight you, all kinds of crazy stuff. There's nothing that constructive criticism. That I'm trying to, I'm like, this is what happened, this is what you did to me. Just talk about it, and they get upset, pissed off and stuff, and just want to fight. So, based on the attitudes of some of the brothers, some of the oxen, whatever you want to call them, there's certain brothers that I'm not able to talk to. Even if I were to go to them humbly and explain things to them, I know their attitude and character is so explosive that I'm not trying to let them go there. So, what I try to do, to be honest with you, I try to basically stay away from it. Say hello, how you doing? Good night. Have a good night. And it's me to that. If a brother or sister wants something, and I'm able to help them, I'll still help. But all that controversy, I can't. It's just something I'm not trying to deal with all of that. Brother Martin, I talked to him a lot about that stuff. And when I asked him some stuff, I talked to him about some stuff, and I was like, hey, do you think this is talking to me? He was like, no, listen, I'm talking to you back, you're just expressing some things that is concerning me. And I was like, well, I kind of want to talk to the doctor, but I don't want to be in the fight with this guy. So I just told Mark I was just going to leave it alone and just, how you doing? Good night, have a nice day. Like I say, if I need something, I'll help. But I've been dealing with this kind of stuff since I've been in the Word. And it's been very few times I've been able to go through the talk. Not that all of it has done something to me, but just being able to talk to me. Just like character, just like every day, like when I'm with them, when they're here, how they be acting, stuff like that, I don't want no controversy. So, if I come to you and say something like, hey, I'm going to talk to you, it's about something. You really need to hear it, but at the same time, I'm not willing to do that if it's going to cause me violence, or if it's going to cause me riffraff, if you want to call it like that. I ain't trying to go there. Because once that happens, there's always going to be that cloud or that thing. I look, be like, have like some kind of, like glitch. I have some kind of glitch just by, going to the eye, talking to him, upset. He might cool off a little bit, but it's going to always be that thing in the back of his mind about what I just said to him. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think that I'm real true. So, maybe in the future, if I see some improvement with maturity, maybe I probably.
Hey, hold on a second. Ladies, y'all sit down. Y'all sit down.
Good. And that's basically about it, but that's basically about it. But yeah, I've been actually thinking on my mind.
like a counseling session. I had went to him, it was all about me being counseling, like how should I view this thing, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. I know you're about to break it down.
No, so I think, my opinion, I think that that's probably a healthy choice. Because we're talking about forgiveness, it doesn't always require a conversation. You were the one offended. If you were the one who were offended, because notice when they talk about, like, when you go into your brother, it says, if you go to the altar and you realize that your brother has something against you, then you're supposed to go to him, right? But if you're the one who offended him, and you have already forgiven, and I think that you're ahead of the curve, even if you can't have a conversation at this point in time. But the desire to have that conversation to squash it is still in a good space. It's not like forgiveness hasn't been given.
In Matthew 18, let me say something to you. See, the thing is, when you go and get counsel from another brother concerning the situation, right? And you don't address that brother. Like I agree with B, in certain situations, that's wisdom, right? I don't want to get into no violence. I don't want to deal with none of that that will cause an uproar, right? But according to what he taught, he says that love is without dissimulation, right? So even though you like hide behind, inside it's like, I really want to talk to this brother about something, but I know that he's going to jump off, right? So it's kind of like you not really being forthcoming. That relationship could be something better than what it is, but you're kind of choosing not to explore that based on how they have acted as opposed to how they act, because you did the word, right? So Genesis 1:1 says what? Genesis 1:1. Keep on. In the beginning, what happened? He created the heaven and the earth, right? You believe that? You sure? Then it should be easy to believe in what Mashiach said for it. Matthew 18, verse 15.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 15. Moreover, if your brother shall trespass against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone.
And him what?
Alone.
And him what?
Alone.
And him alone. If he's committed some type of trespass against you or offended you or whatever have you, right? It's okay to have counsel. But this says, go and talk to him and him alone. Why? So this thing for 4 to 5 years don't fester. And once it festers, now you feel like you gotta get it out to Elder Martin. Right? Because that's what happens a lot of time around here. You know what I'm saying? This is a perfect example of it, right? We let it fester, we build it up, we build it up, we build it up, and you don't even realize that your heart is changing towards this person or towards this situation. You can try to convince yourself all day long. Ain't nothing there. But it's something there because you were compelled to actually tell it to somebody else. Right? So it says, go to your brother and speak to him and him alone. Go ahead.
And if he shall hear you.
Now, that means the if there, right, is saying that he might listen or he might not. Right? He says, if he shall hear you, then what?
You will gain a brother.
He could actually hear what you say, and even though he's a firecracker, you might be able to convince him or let him know in a way where he's like, man, I'm sorry, I did that to you. I apologize. According to the text, even if he get rah-rah, you believe the word, right? It says a soft answer turns away what? Soft answer. So when we start to apply, right, these things, and we are wise as serpents, but what? Harmless as doves, we can accomplish what we set out to accomplish. But if we go and we do something other than this, it continues to breed something, right? It continues to fester. So it says, if he shall hear you, then what? You have gained your brother. Verse 16.
But if he will not hear you, then take with you 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
So now, because we have a congregation, or we have a group of brethren, or we are believers, we have to look at this situation and say, hey, okay, he kind of blowing up. He ain't trying to hear what I'm saying, right? Now, take your other brother with you. Take another brother with you. Take another elder with you. Hey, brother, I really want to get this handled between me. I don't want it to be no bad blood. It's kind of getting to me. And I really want you to see where I'm coming from. So I brought these elders here. I brought these brothers here so we can have this conversation, because something ain't clicking with what we got going on here. He said, take 2 or 3. Come on.
And if he shall neglect to hear them,
And if he don't hear them, because now he's showing himself to be combative, right? There's some type of resolve that could have came from that conversation, especially coming 2 times, right? But now there's a 3rd step, and Mashiach says. Remember, he says, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? If you want to get into eternal life, you'll do what? You'll keep his word. So the things that he's telling us to do is actually for our own good. Now, if you go to this brother and you take these steps and he's still doing whatever he's doing, it's showing his belief system. But you've already displayed yours. Right? Come on.
and if he shall neglect to hear you, tell it unto the congregation.
Now it's like, okay, brother, you won't hear me? You won't hear these elders or hear these brothers? We got to bring this before the congregation. This ain't like, oh man, this is something small. This ain't got nothing to do with it being a small thing or a big thing. This has everything to do with gaining a brother. That's what this process is to do. Right? So maybe when you bring it to the congregation, maybe some of the sisters, their opinion may be able to kind of, for this person to see it on the other side, or maybe brothers that he hasn't heard from, or things of that nature. They can get to him or say a certain thing to him, but to put it in front of the people like, look, man, I want to get this resolved. Come on.
And if he neglect to hear the congregation, let him be unto thee as a heathen can.
Now he says, if he don't hear you, now let him be like a heathen. Because really, that's kind of what you're saying that he is to you already. Because you're like, I'm trying to really stay away from him. You stay away from heathens. Right? Y'all hope? Right? You stay away from heathens. Read it.
A heathen man and a publican.
And a who?
And a publican.
The publicans was tax collectors. People ain't like them too much because they was coming and putting their own stamp on it, right? They come and collect the taxes and they say, instead of $50, it's $150. Right? Come on.
Verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in Shamaim, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in Shamaim.
That's good. That's good. So what he's basically trying to get to us is his main thing is for you to gain your brother. That was the first thing. When he said, go to your brother, him alone, he said so you can gain your brother. That's the main thing is for you to gain this person. Right? So the end result is the same thing. He wants you to gain them. I want you to, because brotherly love is very important to him. He said, now, this brother just won't hear you. He won't hear the 2 or 3. He won't hear the congregation. Man, y'all treat that brother like a publican. I ain't got nothing to do with you. I went through the steps. So I'm justified in keeping my distance from you. According to the text, it says sometimes you got to get such a one over the Satan, you got to let them go in order for them to realize what they done wrong and they come back. But you got to go through the steps first. If you don't go through the steps, then that brother might not even know he wronged you. And now you hold on to something for him that he ain't even You like, look, I'm not about to address this like this because I know he off the hinges. But you believe that word. You believe what you see. You go to your brother. You talk to your brother. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Is there another?
So I recently, like, somebody that like recently did me, like, did me wrong, so there you go, and tell them the word and stuff like that. Hey, listen, this will, but that was good. But when it's come time, like, when you follow through, like, start talking to the person, talk to that person again, or how do you deal with the kind of little bit of doubt that you may be wrong to see?
So basically the question is, somebody done you wrong, right? Y'all talked about it already, right? He said, how do you deal with the doubt that they might do you wrong again, right?
So I think that you have to, like, I would say extend, extend, but don't overextend. There's like once we get forgiveness, like from the sheet, right? It ain't like, all right, I forgave you, but you still have to, build and earn, and trust has to be earned, faith, it's all. So it's like that trust has to be rebuilt, it has to be reestablished. So, but I think it happens over the course of time. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. Like, I dealt with something similarly, and it's like it's difficult to put yourself out there to where if somebody did something that hurt you, you don't want to be hurt again. It's like I don't want to just put myself out there. But if little by little you're saying, okay, but they are trustworthy, and then there's still certain things that I be reluctant to trust certain people with. You know what I mean? You got to be not a fool with it, but allow them the opportunity.
Another question. What's the difference between perfect and blameless?
Let me get the first one. Go to the script real quick. Proverbs chapter 6. Verse 6. And 6 and 1. So, 6 and 1. So, when you're dealing with somebody, you're kind of scared to, put your heart all the way back in it. You don't want to give yourself over to a person that has wronged you. You know what I'm saying? To be put in that vulnerable state again. I look at it like this with Mashiach, right? He shed his blood for the masses, right? But in order for you to be a recipient of that benefit, you have to show yourself worthy, right? You got to believe. You got to get immersed. You got to walk right. You know what I'm saying? So even though he died, there's something on your end that you have to do to show, hey, I'm ready for this, right? Proverbs 6 and 1. So when it comes to a friend, it's kind of like the same thing. You got that forgiveness. You done already had your heart ripped up, right? So now I'm trying to deal with you, but you got to take a step. Proverbs 6 and 1.
Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 1. My son, if you be surety for your friend.
He said what?
If you be surety for your friend. If you have stricken your hand with a stranger, you are snared with the words of your mouth. You are taken with the words of your mouth. Do this now.
Do what?
Do this now.
If you sure of a friend, or to make sure of a friend, he said, do this now. What?
Do this now, my son, and deliver yourself when you are come into the hand of your friend.
And do what?
Go humble yourself and make sure you're a friend.
You got to make sure of this person first before you just give me all that to them. It ain't just no, how people say, oh man, once you forgive them, you have to make sure you're a friend. Don't just give yourself to anybody. You can show yourself friendly, but don't just give yourself to anybody in that way. Right? You can't trust everybody with your secrets. You can't trust everybody with your downfalls and your mishaps. You know what I'm saying? So prove a friend first. You know what I'm saying? Nobody like to get hurt in the same place twice. You know what I'm saying? So prove. And then your second question, you said the difference between being perfect and being blameless. Put it up.
Alright. So when it's speaking of perfection, it's talking about like maturity, right? Like that, like there's a Timothy. Is it fully furnished?
2 Timothy chapter 3. And verse 17. It says that the man of Elohim may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
So when it's talking about perfection here, it's talking about like complete, want nothing, right? So when we're talking about blameless, like you can be blameless and not be perfect. Meaning that you can, there's still something that can be added if you're blameless. But blameless meaning you haven't committed a fault. No sin, no transgression. But still, like we were talking about those steps earlier, still reaching to attain that mark of perfection, meaning you still got a ways to go. It's still stuff you learned. It's still stuff that you gain and added to your faith. But yet you haven't committed transgression. Good.
With the young man that was walking in the way, and he was a young rich ruler. He said, if I will get into the kingdom, what am I supposed to do? He said, well, keep the commandments. Right? So keeping the commandments would make him be what? Blameless. Because I don't have no fault. But he said, but if you will be perfect, sell all that you have and come follow me. Now you're content. You're complete. You're whole. You get what I'm saying? Because the young man said, all of these things I done did already. I'm blameless in that.
What do I lack?
What I lack is
What's missing?
Exactly.
He hadn't yet reached perfection, but yet he'd been keeping the commandments, so he was blameless.
So when you talk about like we talk about being perfect, like in ourselves right now,
It doesn't mean without flaw.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not talking about flawless. You know, blameless and flawless is different, right? So, but like he's saying, keeping the commandments will keep you blameless. But perfection, meaning if you feel like it's just that you desire to do more, there's something missing, something that's not fulfilled, that's perfection.
So if I could say like this, you can be blameless and not be perfect, but you can't be perfect without being blameless. Right? So when you talk about perfection, you said, be you perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Right? But if you're going to be perfect like that, that comes along with being blameless. There's no sin associated with that. But being blameless is no sin associated, right? To it, you know what I'm saying? But being perfect, being content, being well-rounded, right? Like when he was talking about being perfect in that Matthew 5, he was talking about not just loving your brother, but loving the people that hate you, right? So when he talking about perfection, he's speaking of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
Can we be, once you start to like learn the word, start to repent from things, do you call yourself perfect, or would you call yourself blameless, or would you call yourself the man that's trying to be righteous, like we pronounce yourself as?
let me repeat the question for the people. It says, so when he said when you start to repent from things and you start keeping the commandments, do you call yourself blameless or do you call yourself perfect?
I think, or what would you consider yourself?
Or which one would you consider yourself?
Or it's something else, if it's something else, then it's something else, but I don't know, like
aren't willfully sinning, you are blameless.
Because I'm especially like just our because as a flesh we sin, without knowing sometimes. So like that's why I would ask like if you blameless, you don't sin at all. But if you don't know you sin,
That's what when it talk about that faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word, like that's the beginning of faith, right? And then it says, and you add to your faith this, and add to your faith that. One of those additions is knowledge. So that's why you have to be diligent. Like when they talk about in the scriptures, they say diligently, as far as like the consistency as you reading and studying and learning and understanding. You have to know the law. You have to know what it is that you're aiming for. If you're aiming to be blameless, how can you be blameless if you don't know what it takes to be blameless? So you have to gain that knowledge of what's needed, necessary to be blameless, right? Then once you know, then you become a doer, right? Now I do it. Now I'm blameless. And if you get to the point where you're blameless, and it says, I kept all his commandments, like the young ruler that tried to mention. Once you get to that point, and it's still something that you feel like you're lacking, or you don't feel like you're perfect, meaning incomplete, then maybe it's something that you're passionate about that you should try to, like it could be like reaching out, feeding the poor, helping the youth, stuff like that. That would be like, now you feel fulfilled. Now that's perfection. All right?
1 John 3:4.
When we, again, like, it's a fine line, right? But we got, like, when we stand, we're flesh and we commit sin, right? We know we're going to commit sin and stuff that we don't know, right? Like he was saying, that diligence is key. Because what don't you know, right? That's the question. What don't I know? The stuff that I don't know, I have to be diligent to do what? To learn, right? 1 John 3:4.
1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever commits sin transgresses also the law.
So he says, if you commit sin, that means you're transgressing. You're going against the actual law, right? So the first thing you want to do, he says, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word. You can't hear unless you go to the what? To the word. So he says, if sin is the transgression of the law, what should you be learning right now? You gotta learn the law, right? So if you learn the law, then you would actually, if you commit a sin after that, it's because you wanted to, not because you didn't know. He said, at your ignorance, the Most High once winked at, right? You didn't know something. He winked at that. He did that. You may know he did that. He said, but now I require all men to repent, right? So when he says repent, what does it mean to repent? Turn away, right? So he winked at the stuff you didn't know you was doing wrong, right? That's that mercy. That's that long suffering. My son ain't really there yet. He don't really know, right? Now, he's like, okay, I winked at that. Now it's time for you to turn away from it. Go on in there, get in my law, learn what I don't want you to do, learn what I want you to do, so now you don't be caught with your tail between your legs. You know what I'm saying? You know now. Now it's like, oh, no, I'm getting away from that. That ain't right. Because I've seen that in the law. Because sin is the transgression of the law. So when we say, man, that's our flesh, and we know we're going to sin, we got to be mindful. We only know we're going to sin if we want to. But the things that we know, we are choosing to do. You know what I'm saying? Is there another?
Was it? Once it's over with, we want everybody to get our children. We're going to make sure that they're not running. Got it? Everybody get our own children, make sure they are not running and tearing stuff up. Got it? Don't sound like we got it. Who got a belt on here? If you don't get your kids, we will. Go ahead.
All right, so we have Purim coming up next week. It is March 5th and 6th. On the 5th, we will be giving alms to a family that is in need. I'm sorry, it is tomorrow.
Salakia. You gotta say Salakia.
I thought about this yesterday, and I think it's next week. Time to get away from me, I really thought that was next week. But we so we were trying to get stuff for us now.
Get yourself together, brother.
We need to get stuff really together. So we're trying to get household items for the family. So like pots, pans. Yes, it's in the chat. I'll repost it. Dinnerware sets like cups and bowls, plates, knives, towels, washcloths, pillows, blankets for a twin or queen size bed, bed linen for the queen and twin size. Brushes, combs, rubber bands, hair oil, soap, deodorant, body spray, toothbrush, toothpaste, body wash, female pads, laundry detergent, canned goods, rags, storage bins, socks, and shoes, girls' clothes, boys' clothes. We don't have much time, but age 6. Size 6. Shoe size 1. Size 8. Shoe size 3. Also 10 and 11 clothes and shoe size 5. Boy, pants are 32. Medium and large shirts. Size 10 shoes. Also 34 pants. XL, extra large shirts. You know what the shoe size is, man? It's not listed. So we're not. New, yes. If it's generally used, some you would wear, but I don't say nothing. You prefer new, but you know.
It's posted, right?
Yeah.
I'll repost it.
It's in the chat, I'll repost it again. But if you have, as long as something you wear, I wasn't going to bring stuff that you're going away and you're going to get to it. That's the thing. If it's used and you can still wear it, then that's fine. We also will be meeting on Monday here, 6 to 10. We'll meet, we're going to eat, and we'll have to try to get video together too. So they got away from it. I really thought that was that week.
We got size 11 shoes. PlayStation 5 was this other family they were talking about. Bring some good food. You know what I'm saying? We got some special stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? It's a brother that everybody know. So if you find it in your heart, I'll let him know.
And then B is going to be 322, so that is the beginning of the year. The first day of the month is 322, which means Passover is going to be April 5th. So the evening of April 5th, we will be here in the building April 5th. Unleavened bread, the first day is going to be April 6th through the 11th. So the 6th is a Shabbat. We do not work on that day. We'll be here probably about 1 or 2 o'clock, I'm assuming. And then on the 11th as well, we'll also be here. Non-working day, we'll be here. So those are the upcoming feast days. 4th, 5th, and 11th. 4th, 5th, and 11th are the days we'll be here for Pesach and unleavened bread. More details come about the menus and everything and the times, more specific later on, but those are the days so far. So tomorrow and Monday and then April 4th, 5th, and 11th. Fifth and sixth. For Purim is 2 days. You talk Purim or for Passover? Passover is the 5th. The 4th, I'm sorry.
4th and the 5th.
4th and
Okay.
5th. And 11th, I'm sorry.
The 5th and the 11th.
I'm sorry. 5th and 11th. I apologize.
Brother Nate is actually showing that it can be human. Okay? Passover is April the 4th.
Yes.
The first day of unleavened bread is April the 5th. The last day of unleavened bread is April the 11th.
I'm sorry. It is posted. I've been posted for about 2 months.
It's okay. You ain't got to explain.
I'm sorry.
Plans mess up. It's all right. It's okay.
And he will repost the list of items that's needed. Can we make it like a checklist? Like if you're gonna buy something, if you're gonna purchase something on the list, yeah, can we get it checked off the list? Like, can you update the list?
Yeah, we're going
Is there a list captain? Can we get a list captain to keep track of it?
I mean, that'd be good for me.
Yeah, the list keeper.
That's that.
Voluntold.
And we get who's delivering the items?
Listen to my
You are delivering items.
You got the list.
I don't. She posted it.
Oh, she got the list.
I'll repost it. I can repost it.
Okay. Yeah. Repost the Repost the list. If you get anything off of that list, please put in that same inbox that you got.
Now, we need somebody that's going to be over the list, that somebody that can be contacted and say, hey, I'm buying this. Okay, no, somebody bought that already. You know what I mean?
Any volunteers?
So we get somebody to... Sister Siobhan. So if you want to buy something on the list, let Sister Siobhan know. She'll take it off the list.
What time are you going to meet here tomorrow then?
We need here tomorrow?
We got to take stuff tomorrow.
Everybody
I don't really bother with she lives in Pontiac. Yeah. So that's what we're going to take because we could not be here. So we're going to take it to her.
So who needs to be here? Who needs to be here?
Oh, yeah, I guess
Oh, bring your stuff here tomorrow.
tomorrow, yeah.
Bring your stuff here tomorrow at
What time we going to noon? 2 o'clock.
Bring your stuff here
So
tomorrow.
we'll all be here too, and then whoever's going to go off to Pontiac, we can all travel together and give us stuff, have prayer with us something on tomorrow.
Hey, so Nate, okay, just for you. So we just keep on bringing stuff other than just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep on and keep stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This ain't just a tomorrow thing. Keep until we tackle this entire list. Let's continue to get the stuff.
Tomorrow's here. I really think that was another officer.
Can we ask Sister Shanice to be the list captain? Can she be the list? Okay.
My issue is I can post stuff on it. I've been saying this for a year or so. I just wanted to have you text me to let me know that something is on the board. It doesn't let me know, and messenger don't pop up on my phone.
Oh, okay.
That's my only issue. I don't want to miss something.
So
But if I have to just keep on.
no, because I would rather people call you at that point. You know what I'm saying? Just to call and say, hey, I got such and such. All right, go back to the list. Like cool. Okay.
All right, all good. All right.
All right, we good? Is there any more announcements? Anybody got anything that they want to share? No?
Nothing.
Hold on, hold it down there, please. Alright, that's Friday. Brother Johnny will be out of town on Friday. He's leaving out of town on Friday to go to Chicago and to take Jada home. So please, let's keep him in our prayers for safe travels and safe return. Hallelujah. I think that's it, right? We gonna pray. We gonna pray. We gonna pray. We gonna pray. Pray out. Pray out. We gonna pray. We gonna pray. We gonna pray. We gonna pray. Pray out. Pray out.
No, food is nothing. So we have to give it I do apologize. That's my fault. All minds clear? Father, we give you praise, honor, and esteem today. We thank you for your goodness and faithfulness. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for the word, Father, that you brought to us today, Father. We ask you to allow us to take inventory of ourselves and our heart, Father, to correct those things that are not right within us, Father. We lay aside every way of sin that's easy to set us, Father, we can make it to your kingdom. Father, we ask you to touch those who are sick, Father. Our brother in the hospital, you continue to touch him, Father. We ask you to be with Brother Johnny and his family as he travels. Give them traveling mercy, Father, allow them to come back safely. Father, we ask you to touch everyone who has needed you, Father. There are so many needs and wants. So many people are hurting, suffering, Father. And touch them, strengthen them, Father. May you use for your son who's on the shot, Father. We ask that you be with us today. And on tomorrow, Father, we are able to provide for those in need, Father. We thank you for the abundance you've given us, and we can give to others, Father. Father, we ask that you forgive us of any sins we've committed. And when you see us, you see the blood of your son, you who's on our shot. Father, we ask you to bless the food that we're about to take up, make a nourishment for our body. Allow us to have good fellowship, to love our brother and our sister as ourselves. All these things we give thanks and praise in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. So be it. So be it.
Remember, let's get our children no running.